This is your primetime forecast for East Alabama and West Georgia from Dr. Don's Weather. Dr. Don's Weather is made possible by the Randolph County Commission, East Alabama Waste, Southern Auction Solutions, Genesis Weight Clinic, Jimmy Stevens Construction, Anchor Roofing, the Town of Wadley, Auction 431 South, the Salem Auction House and Bama Diesel Repair. From the Alpha Weather Center, powered by Boondocks Barbecue and Creamery, Southern Union State Community College and the venue at 5 Points Farms, here's Dr. Don.
Good morning, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Don in here with you on your Tuesday morning. I may have a tad bit of good news for East Alabama and West Georgia. I'll get to all of that, and we'll talk about Helene coming up in this morning's edition of your primetime forecast for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, from Dr. Don's Weather. Brought to you by Jimmy Stevens Construction. Give Mr. Jimmy a call at 256-610-1364 for all of your remodeling and construction needs. And get your ducks in a row with Dukas. Jamie Dukas has got your insurance coverage. 256-831-7770 for Alpha Insurance across Alabama and Georgia. Let's get with the program because we've got a whole lot to talk about this morning. Of course, all eyes are on the Gulf of Mexico with the possibility of a major hurricane making landfall on Thursday afternoon. Now, between now and then, today and tomorrow, we will have a few scattered showers today. Moisture will be on the increase as we get into your Wednesday, and Thursday is going to be a wet one across East Alabama and West Georgia as Helene approaches from the south. Let's go to the tropical page because there's a lot to tell you about here. There's the latest hurricane track from the National Hurricane Center. We still do not have a tropical storm, but we really didn't anticipate that until sometime today. There was a chance it could have happened during the overnight, but we are looking for number 9 to a potential tropical cyclone number 9 to become a depression and then a tropical storm later on today or sometime tonight, at least within the next 24 hours, and then a hurricane as it shoots that gap between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula, and then becoming a hurricane in the southern Gulf, and then moving across the eastern Gulf of Mexico, increasing to perhaps Category 3 before making landfall somewhere south of Tallahassee, Florida, Thursday afternoon into Thursday night. And then, at the moment, we expect the storm to kind of move right up the central portions of the state of Georgia and then take a turn back to the northwest as it approaches North Georgia. This is called the Fujiwara effect, and that's a new term that a lot of you are going to get accustomed to over the next several days. This is named after Dr. Fujiwara, who noticed many years ago a phenomenon that was taking place primarily out in the Pacific, where you have two weather systems. You have a low pressure system, and then you have an approaching cyclone or hurricane, and those two kind of get together and start dancing around one another. This is not unusual. This is not some weird weather thing that's happening because of the greenhouse effect or anything like that. The global warming doesn't have anything to do with this. This has been happening for years. It just typically doesn't happen in the United States, or especially across the southeastern United States, but it has happened before. So that's going to drag, if this is your I'm backwards here. If this is your low pressure system sitting over northwest Alabama, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, and then as Helene approaches from the south, it's going to kind of get pulled back to the northwest and maybe absorb into that low pressure system, and then it could potentially do a loop-de-loop and come back across North Alabama and North Georgia, or it may continue on to the northwest, getting up into Missouri or maybe southern Illinois. That would be on Saturday and Sunday. But between now and then, we've got a lot to deal with across Alabama and Georgia. I think at the moment, with the given track that we have, East Alabama, West Georgia may be spared the worst of this storm. Now, it's going to be a very wet Thursday. It's going to be windy and breezy at times on Thursday into Thursday night, maybe lingering into mid to late morning Friday. And at the moment, given the track that we have right now from the Hurricane Center, it looks like Friday night may be okay for high school football, and then Saturday may be okay for college football across Alabama and Georgia. So let's talk about several things here. The flooding situation. There are two separate features that will lead to at least two distinct areas of flooding potential. We just talked about that. The low pressure that's going to stall out across northwest Alabama, and then the approaching storm, Helene, will cause a lot of rain across East Alabama and West Georgia, primarily on Thursday. We're looking at 2 to 4 inches of rain, I think, across most of the Dr. Don coverage area in Alabama and in Georgia. Up here in the northeast Georgia mountains, we could be looking at a tad bit more rainfall as we get into this event. So let me just kind of step through some of the different graphics here. So that is the latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. And folks, understand, this doesn't show where the effects are going to be. This simply shows the margin of error for the track. So when you get up there north of Macon, you start to see that broadening. That's because the storm could track anywhere within that hatched area across central and northern Georgia, perhaps maybe veering back to the left a bit and tracking through northwest Alabama, or veering to the right and tracking through upstate South Carolina. Margin of error, that's all that is. Has nothing to do with the effects. This is going to be a very large storm, so the effects are going to be felt in a large area across the southeast. So here's the latest spaghetti model tracks. This is a consensus of all of the major models, and you can see they're grouped very tightly. So confidence level has really come up, and we told you it would by today. The confidence level has really increased as far as the track of this storm is concerned. Really, at the moment, I think that black track right in the middle is probably dead on the money. But it could track anywhere in the state of Georgia, from the Alabama state line to the South Carolina state line. Really, the only area of Georgia that's not in play at the moment would be down there in southeast Georgia. But we'll watch this. There has been somewhat of a trend of nudging the track a little bit east with each update, though I think we've kind of settled in now, and I don't expect to see many more changes to this track. I think this is probably what we're going to go with. Now, let's take a look at the tropical storm force winds. This is the probability of seeing tropical storm force winds in your particular area. And you can see down there south of Tallahassee, maybe just a little bit to the west of Perry, Florida, is where the absolute best chance of tropical storm force winds. Of course, we're looking at hurricane force winds down there, maybe up to 115 miles per hour. But the big issue down there in the Big Bend area, stretching all the way down the west side of the coast of Florida, isn't necessarily going to be the wind. It's going to be storm surge. We do have hurricane watches up this morning, basically from Indian Pass, which is down there around Apalachicola, all the way down the western side of the state of Florida. From Indian Pass back to the west to a point just west of Panama City, we have a tropical storm watch that's in effect. But you can see here that we at least have about a 20% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds as far north as Roanoke, Alabama. Maybe as far north as Cleveland, Georgia. Helene, Georgia could be looking at tropical storm force winds. That's 39 mile per hour or higher. Anywhere between 39 miles per hour and 73 mile per hour is where that tropical wind category kind of falls into play. So very windy across East Alabama, West Georgia. I think across East Alabama and West Georgia, we're probably looking at the 25 to 35 mile per hour wind gust is the way things are looking looking right now. And that'll be during the day on Thursday. During the evening Thursday night into the morning on Friday. Up here in northeast Georgia, again, it's going to depend on the exact track because I think we're going to be closer to the track. We're certainly going to be to the east of the center of circulation. So I think our chances of seeing higher gusts are much better, especially up here in the mountains. The Appalachian chain just does weird things with tropical systems. So we could be in the 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gust range up here in the northeast Georgia mountains. But again, I emphasize across East Alabama and West Georgia, we're probably in the 25 to 35 mile per hour gust category. That would be Thursday night into Friday morning with improving weather conditions by the time we get to Friday evening. Here's the rainfall. This is the rainfall forecast between tomorrow and Friday. And you'll see across East Alabama and West Georgia, we're in the 2 to 4 inch category range. Typically, that would not cause a problem, but understand that some of these rains come in squalls. They're in those feeder bands, and it could all come, in short periods of time. So there certainly could be some issues with localized flash flooding and some of these heavy tropical downpours. And then up in northeast Georgia, we're in that 4 to 6 inch category, maybe some localized heavier amounts of up to 8 inches up in the mountainous regions of northeast Georgia. Down along the Florida coast and up into southwest Georgia, we're in that 6 to 8 category range, maybe some localized areas up to around 9 to 10 inches of rain will also be possible with this event. So looking at the flood potential. The areas in red are showing the areas that are most likely to receive flooding issues from some of these storms. The yellow, which covers all of East Alabama and West Georgia, is the probability there is only about 15%. And then in the red, you get up there around that 40% category. So more likely in the red, but certainly possible in those yellow areas across Alabama and Georgia. One more thing I wanted to show you here, and this is the potential tropical cyclone model intensity guidance. This is what the models think will happen. You'll see that the majority of the models take it to a Category 2. There are a few models that take it to Category 3 right before landfall, and there's at least one model that suggests it makes it to Category 4 before making landfall. But the general consensus is a mid to upper end Category 2 just before landfall, potentially making it to 3. Remember, the last couple of hurricanes we've had come in this area have just exploded right before landfall. So if you're going to stay in that area, be prepared. Folks, I've had a lot of people send me text messages asking whether or not they should continue their vacation plans down in this particular area, even down the western coast of Florida. And, James Spann says this all the time, and I concur with him 100%. It's hard to give somebody advice about things like that because everybody's tolerance level for weather is different. So I typically try not to give advice, but I will tell you, if you have plans to go anywhere east of Panama City all the way down south of Tampa, I would seriously reconsider that for Thursday. I think Friday will be fine and the weekend will certainly be fine, but Wednesday and Thursday down in the western coast of Florida, not going to be a lot of fun. And storm surge, especially if you're planning on staying out on the beach or in the bay, storm surge is going to be a problem down there because there's nowhere for the water to go but inland. So I would highly suggest not being down there on Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah, I think Friday into Saturday and Sunday will be just fine, but here's the issue. You'd have to drive through it pretty much to get down there. So I would wait until Friday. If I had plans to go down there, I would avoid it on Wednesday and Thursday. Now, look, the Alabama Gulf Coast all the way over to Panama City, no problems. It's going to be breezy. There will be showers around, but we're not looking at hurricane conditions. We'll be experiencing an offshore flow, which means the wind will be coming from the north, blowing back out into the ocean. So no storm surge issues. Probably pretty nice weather from the Alabama Gulf Coast all the way over to Panama City. As you go east from Panama City, the weather will begin to deteriorate from there. Thursday and Friday will not be good days in the Big Bend area and even down the western side of the state of Florida on Thursday and Friday. Also, back to high school football. I'm telling you, Thursday probably a no-go across East Alabama and West Georgia for Thursday night. But I think Friday night now is looking much better. If we don't have any damage from power lines and trees, I think we'll be fine Friday night for high school football. Understand there may be a few showers still hanging around. It may be breezy from time to time, but I don't think we're looking at anything that would potentially cancel high school football on Friday night across East Alabama and West Georgia. All right, let's take a look at your current conditions at the venue at 5 Points Farms. Currently, we have 71 degrees. Feels like 72 outside. That tropical moisture already beginning to increase, which makes it feel a little bit muggy out there this morning. No wind at the hour. That'll certainly change over the next 48 hours. Humidity is 94%. The barometric pressure at 29.92. Dew point 69. The high temperature yesterday was 91.5. We currently have clear skies. That, too, shall change. Our sunrise this morning will be at 6:32, and the sun sets this evening at 6:36 p.m. We'll start the day partly sunny. I think we'll see more clouds than sun this afternoon, and there will be a few scattered showers around this afternoon. 89 will be the high in Roanoke. Carrollton will hit 92. We'll make it to 91 in LaGrange. Alexander City hits 90 this afternoon, and Dadeville tops out at 91 degrees. So here's your 6-day forecast from the Alpha Weather Center. Jamie Dukas, your local Alpha agent for your Tuesday. About a 20% chance of a scattered shower this afternoon. We had a good one up here in Cleveland, Georgia yesterday. 89 will be your high temperature, down to 68 tonight. Will increase the chance of rain to 40% this evening. Then on Wednesday, primarily from the cold front that's coming in, will give you an 80% chance of rain. 78 will be the high. Wednesday night will continue with that 80% chance, down to 66. Then on Thursday, we'll have more moisture coming up from the south with what will probably be, by that time, Hurricane Helene. That will start to merge with the moisture that's going to be stalled out across northwest Alabama, and we're just going to have a washout mess on Thursday night during the overnight. It'll be breezy and windy, gusty from time to time, 35 miles per hour possible. Can that bring down a few trees and limbs and power outages? It certainly can, but with that track shifting a little further to the east, I don't think this is going to be a major issue for East Alabama. And of course, the further west you go in Alabama, the less amount of effect you're going to see. I think most all of this would be along and east of the I-65 corridor in Alabama. 90% chance of rain, showers, thunderstorms, tropical downpours from time to time on your Thursday. 80% chance we continue that on Thursday night. Then when you get up on Friday morning, I think weather conditions will be improving. There still could be a few showers around. It'll be breezy on Friday morning, but as we get into the afternoon, the sun pokes out, and I think weather conditions get better, and high school football should be, unless something changes, and it could, I think Friday night football is a go. 75 will be your high on Friday. It'd be pretty nice weather, actually. Then for the weekend, Saturday, sunny, 79. And then on Sunday, a return of a 20% chance of an afternoon shower. High temperature will be around 80 degrees. Southern Union State Community College live Doppler HD radar, and I'm going to take you in a little bit closer. We've got the track on the storm this morning. We'll take you in a little bit closer, and you can see that we have a couple of areas of showers, one moving into East Alabama at this hour. Then look back to the west from about Nashville down to Jackson, Mississippi, and then back to behind Memphis, Tennessee. That's where the cold front is, and that's things going to kind of put on the brakes somewhere between Memphis and Decatur, and just kind of sit there for a couple of days. That's what's going to help steer Helene back to the north and eventually back to the northwest. So we'll have precipitation coming from that area. And then there is this. That is Helene, or what will be Helene, in the next 24 to 48 hours. Expected to shoot the gap between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula in the Caribbean, and then end up in the southern Gulf of Mexico as a Category 1, making it to Category 3 status by probably late Wednesday into Thursday, and then landfall just south of Tallahassee, Florida, to the east of Port St. Joe, to the west of Perry, Florida, and then tracking right up into South Georgia to a point near Thomasville, and then near Moultrie, Tifton. Now, this should be to the east of Albany, so I'm now thinking, Albany, you will not get the worst of this, though it's not going to be a fun ride in Albany. I don't think we're looking at hurricane force winds in Albany, but certainly 40, 50 mile per hour gusts are possible, and power outages would be possible too in southwest Georgia and southeast Alabama back over toward Dothan. Then as we get somewhere south of Perry, we're going to start veering back to the northwest. That's Perry, Georgia. And the track of the storm projected now to move right over Macon, Georgia, just to the east of Atlanta, maybe over Stone Mountain, and then just to the west of Gainesville, Georgia, and then to a point near Ellijay, and then up into Athens, Tennessee, by the time we get to Friday morning. So that's the projected track. You'll see, though, inside that cone, and the cone does still include East Alabama, that is the margin of error. The tropical system, tropical storm, we think, by the time it gets into Georgia, could actually track anywhere within inside that cone. So that's what we're looking at on the hurricane this morning. That's a lot of information, that will probably change multiple times over the next 24 to 48 hours, though I don't anticipate a major shift, any more major shifts with the track of the storm. I think we're pretty much zeroed in on where the storm is going to go, but the details, the particulars about rainfall amounts and the exact wind strength in your location, all of that is subject to change as the storm gets underway, and we watch and see if indeed it does make it to Category 3 before making landfall Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening just south of Tallahassee. So having said all of that, I'll keep you updated here on Dr. Don's Weather. We'll be doing Facebook posts throughout the day. We'll go back and do another Weather Talk Live tonight, and then of course I'll be back with you first thing tomorrow morning with your next prime time forecast. Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Enjoy your Tuesday, and I'll see you back in here this evening on Dr. Don's Weather.
This has been your primetime forecast for East Alabama and West Georgia. From the Alpha Weather Center, powered by Southern Union State Community College, the venue at 5 Points Farms and Boondocks Barbecue and Creamery, Dr. Don's Weather is supported by the Randolph County Commission, East Alabama Waste, Southern Auction Solutions, Genesis Weight Clinic, Jimmy Stevens Construction, Anchor Roofing, the Town of Wadley, Auction 431 South, the Salem Auction House, and Bama Diesel Repair. Be sure to like us on Facebook, share us with all of your friends, and subscribe to Dr. Don's Weather on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow morning with another edition of your primetime forecast on Dr. Don's Weather.